Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We are ready to start. Please help yourself to more fruit, rolls, and beverages. Okay. Welcome to our quarterly all-church breakfast. And we are so pleased today to have Sheriff Darren Weekly of Douglas County with us today. We are honored and excited to hear about all that he's doing and questions too. So be thinking of questions that we can put to the sheriff. My name is Steve Baska. I am the vice chair of the men's ministry here at St. Andrew, and we want to give a quick plug to some of the things that we are doing here, including we have a beer night for men next week. I hope some of you fellows will come to the Lone Tree Brewery on Thursday, and we have a men's retreat coming up in Broomfield, at which Rev. Mark Feldmeyer will be speaking, so we hope you'll come to that too. And we have a golf tournament this August that we hope you will participate in. And to plug the retreat for a moment more, I'm going to give the microphone to our chair, Steve O'Neill.
Thanks, Steve. So the men's retreat is coming up April 4th through the 6th at the Omni Interlaken. If we get enough interest, we'll be doing a golf thing on Friday. We'll be taking mini buses. If anybody wants to ride the mini buses with the guys, then we'll be leaving here and then come back on Sunday morning early enough probably to be able to attend to the 10:30 service. So I have flyers, and we would love to have you all attend. I am warning you that there's going to be a big push tomorrow. I would highly recommend that you register today because we are selling out quickly. We are already at 60% full already, okay? Last year's event was a tremendous success. This year, one of the biggest things that we're going to be changing to is we're going to be spending a lot of more time on small groups. So we're going to be, Rev. Mark and Rev. Jerry are going to be presenting things, and then we will break out into small groups. And the other section that I just want people to be aware of is Rev. Aaron is coming down from Eagle Valley. And so we may have some participants then from our satellite church then up at Eagle Valley, and we're hoping that they will participate too. So please raise your hand if you'd like to have a flyer, and I'll go ahead and pop around the room now.
Okay. We want to welcome also the folks who are watching on live stream on YouTube and Facebook. If you have a question for the sheriff, just type into the chat mode there, Micah. That's where they do it, and we will ask your question. With that, let me introduce Sheriff Darren Weekly. He began his career at the age of 20 by going to the police academy and was hired as a reserve officer by Cherry Hills shortly after turning 21. He's held so many critical roles, including training officer, canine handler, leader of the patrol division, and the SWAT team and investigations. His extensive experience led to him becoming the 34th sheriff of Douglas County in 2022, and he also attended the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Please welcome Sheriff Darren Weekly.
Good morning. Thank you all for inviting me. I was here last year and showed you guys a similar PowerPoint presentation. We've updated it this year. I know a couple people have been able to see it, a couple not. We're going to kind of power through these quickly because I'm sure you guys probably have a lot of questions. But I think it's important that you guys get an overview of the Sheriff's Office. It's a massive organization, and a lot of people don't realize how large it is and all of the moving parts that are in place with the organization. So I may have to move over here. There we go. This is my command staff. We actually have a lot of transition that's about to go into play here. So my undersheriff, his name is Dave Walter. Dave used to be the sheriff of Arapahoe County, and he was a wonderful sheriff of Arapahoe, but he did not get reelected. He lost his seat to the opposing party, and Douglas County was fortunate enough to scoop him up. The troops love Dave, and he is my number 2 at the sheriff's office. The Law Enforcement Bureau Chief, I've got another former sheriff. Former Sheriff Mike McIntosh. Mike is a former Adams County Sheriff, and he met his demise up in Adams County, similar to Dave Walter. But Mike brings a wealth of knowledge and experience. And again, at the top of the organization, that's critical. And there's a lot of things that I don't need to worry about because these guys have had the same seat that I am in now. Support Services Bureau Chief is Kevin Duffy. Kevin's been with the Sheriff's Office for about 35 years. He has been all over the organization. Kevin is about to retire on me, and he is going to be retiring on March 3rd. So God bless him for his service, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. My Public Information Director, this is Deborah Takahara. Deborah may look a little bit familiar to all of you. She is a former news anchor for Fox 31. She spent many years there, and when Deborah stepped away from being the news anchor, she worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then when I got elected, I was able to coax her away from that. And what I told Deborah is, all I want you to do is tell the story of the men and women of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and relay that message to the public. And so I don't know how many of you are on social media, but if you've been watch the news, you'll see me on the news and a lot of other media platforms because we're trying to tell the public what's actually going on. Deborah's husband is actually a sergeant with the Denver Police Department. So she understands the cop culture, she understands our business very well, and she has been an amazing addition to the Sheriff's Office. Captain of Investigations, Dan McMillan. He's another guy that has about 32, 33 years of experience with the Sheriff's Office, been all over the organization. Investigations handles all the felonies within the Sheriff's, within Douglas County. So if there's a more serious crime, he's in charge of all the detectives. Currently, I have a vacant position in support services. As I mentioned before, we've got a couple retirements coming up. So I have a position there, and I've got another gentleman, Captain Troy McCarty, who's over professional standards. That's internal affairs, training, accreditation, and he'll be retiring with Duffy on March 3rd. So I've got a lot of restructuring that I'll be doing over the next month or two. Skipped over Joel White. So Joel is the captain of the Highlands Ranch Division. Highlands Ranch Division is that building right off of Broadway and Highlands Ranch Parkway. Joel is in that building every day, and he is in charge of our SROs and all of our special teams to include the HART team, S.W.A.T team, K9, and I'll go over those here shortly. Jason Kennedy, he is the captain over the entire patrol division. So Jason, again, about 34 years of experience, been all over the organization. He is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy, and he is just outstanding. I can't shut this guy down. He is working 7 days a week and is all over this county. And then Captain Phil Domenico. Phil has been spent a lifetime as a law enforcement officer, was a bureau chief in Jeffco, and eventually came over to Douglas County, and he's in charge of our jail, which is one of the highest liability areas that I have as a sheriff. Our vision, mission, and values, I won't go through the trouble of reading all of this to you, but when I took over as the sheriff, I scrapped everything that the previous sheriff had done. No disrespect to him, but I wanted a fresh start. I wanted a fresh identity to the sheriff's office. And so when I was looking at, hey, what's our new vision? What's our new mission? What's our new values? I recruited members of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office from all the divisions, both commissioned and civilian, to come up with this. And it's pretty powerful when you take a look at it. And the men and women who wear the badge and do the work came up with this. And essentially, I'll just read the last part to you. We will be accountable, transparent, and respectful as we adapt our training and resources to meet the evolving needs in Douglas County. They knocked it out of the park with this because this is exactly where we're at as a Douglas County community. And then honor, service, and valor. Those are three words that just stuck with me throughout my campaign and resonated with me. And so those are the values of the organization. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office is a Triple Crown accredited agency. What does that mean? That means that we follow best practices, recognize best practices from coast to coast in every division of the office, from patrol and investigations to how we manage our jail and take care of our inmates. There are fewer than 100 sheriff's offices in the entire country that have qualified for that. And your Douglas County Sheriff's Office is one of them. There's over 3,000 sheriff's offices in the United States, and your Douglas County Sheriff's Office is one of that 100. Arapahoe County Sheriff is also another one. So again, we not only adhere to and have the best policies and procedures, but we have outside assessors that come in and make sure that what we're doing is actually what we're doing. These assessors will interview the inmates that we have in custody and talk about the treatment that they get while they're in custody, the medical treatment, and everything else. So we're pretty proud of that achievement. And I will also share with you that Douglas County is one of less than 30 in the entire country that has maintained this status under multiple sheriffs. This is a hard level to maintain, and we've managed to do it through 3 sheriffs. Thank you. These are some of our special teams at a glance. Douglas County is a large organization now. It's 638.5, that's a part-time employee. That's how many employees we have in the organization. 444 are commissioned, and 194 are civilian. It takes all of them to make that organization run. And I will tell you, our commissioners have been very generous to me and given me the resources that we need, but we are way behind where we should be, both in the jail and out on the street. I need a lot more. Douglas County, we cover 844 square miles minus the municipalities of Parker, Lone Tree, and Castle Rock. They have police departments, they take care of those jurisdictions, but we work together on a daily basis for the safety of all citizens. But essentially, they're responsible for public safety in their area unless they need help from us. And then 91% of the homes sit on 18% of the landmass. That's Highlands Ranch, which we cover all of Highlands Ranch and take care of them. Our jail facility has 520 beds, so it's a kind of a medium-sized detention facility, and we have about 400-ish inmates on any given day, and that fluctuates by the hour. What is the difference between police and sheriff? Police chiefs are appointed. They're either appointed by city council, city manager, a mayor. The sheriff is elected by the people of that county. Colorado has 64 counties. 62 of the 64 are elected by the people of that jurisdiction. So it's written in the state constitution. It has been that way since 1876. We go through the same political process as anybody else. We have to win a primary, and then we have to win a general election. So I would submit to you, a lot of people are like, well, do we really want the sheriff or, a law enforcement person being political? Here's what I will tell you to that. We have Democrat sheriffs, we have Republican sheriffs. Arapahoe County has a Democrat sheriff. I'm a Republican sheriff. We work together every single day for the safety and well-being of the citizens that we serve. I would also submit to you that if you have a police chief that's appointed, that police chief has to answer to that city council or that mayor on essentially how they do their job. I answer to the people of this county, and if I'm doing a bad job, guess what? I don't get reelected. With all the issues that you guys have seen, and I'll throw out the city of Aurora, who has a new police chief. He's doing a great job. But if you have a position like that that's elected, I guarantee you Aurora wouldn't have had the out-of-control problems that they have had in recent years if that chief had to answer to the citizens and explain him or herself to the citizens on why crime is so out of control in their area. Again, they got a new police chief, Todd Chamberlain, good guy from LAPD, a lot of experience. The sheriff is also responsible for running the jail and must carry out civil processes. I'm also the official fire warden. That is something a lot of people don't realize that is part of the sheriff's duties. I will tell you guys, I don't know a lot about fires. I've got people that do in the Office of Emergency Management, and so if we have to go into fire restrictions or something like that, I listen to the experts that tell me, hey, Sheriff, fire danger is real high, we need to go into fire restrictions. But that is part of my statutory responsibility as the sheriff. I'm responsible for the security of the county courts, as well as transportation of fugitives from one jurisdiction to another. We all share the same bad guys. They have court cases all over the state of Colorado, all over the country, and I'm responsible for transporting them from jail to jail. And again, the sheriff is responsible for emergency management. This is our patrol division mission statement. Again, I'll crank through these kind of quick so we can get to Q&A. Our patrol deputies patrol about 1,131 miles of roadway. We go all the way up to the Pike National Forest and the Platte River. And then we are also responsible for public safety services for Larkspur and Castle Pines by contract. 78% of the population of Douglas County lives in unincorporated areas. Yes, sir. No, the Lone Tree has their own police department, so they take care of their own services. There's things that we do together, but they have their own police department. And then we also patrol up in the Pike National Forest and have deputies that live up there, because even running with lights and siren to get to a call up there, it takes about 45 minutes, even at those speeds, to get up there. So we have deputies that live up there. This is our district map. When I took over as sheriff, we redistricted the entire county because the workload was not proportionate to, if you were up here in Highlands Ranch, you were going call to call to call to call to call all day, every day. And the deputies down here in these other areas, not so much. So we redistricted and we made the districts a lot smaller up in the northern corridor to give them more, a smaller geographical area, quicker calls for service, balance that workload, because guess what? If I got deputies going from call to call to call to call, they're not doing any proactive policing. They're not patrolling your neighborhood for speeders or burglars or anything else. They're just going from one call to another. When you're in that condition, that's not a good place to be. The city of Denver, they're going call to call if they even are able to show up for your call for service. We never want to get there, and so that's why every year I'm trying to plug away and get a few more patrol deputies out there on the street so they can be doing more proactive patrols. Again, these are some of the special teams. We have a dedicated traffic unit. These guys are really good at math. I was never good at math. They can figure out how fast vehicles were driving based upon the crash damage and the skid marks and everything else. I quickly knew I would never be part of that unit when I started in this business. We have a motorcycle unit as part of that traffic unit. Again, these guys have that same skill set. One of the biggest complaints we get in Douglas County is traffic. Traffic. And we have made a huge impact in that since I took over as sheriff, adding 4 more traffic deputies during peak hours and peak crash locations. Highlands Ranch Parkway, speed zone, right? People are doing 65, 70 miles an hour on a regular basis. We've hammered Highlands Ranch Parkway writing tickets, and we're going to keep writing tickets because we don't want any more tragedies like Alex Makowitz that was killed about a year ago on Highlands Ranch Parkway at Veniford. YES program, Youth Education Safety in Schools. That's essentially our SROs have taken on that role, and that's essentially, for lack of a better purpose, kind of a DARE program, but there's a lot of the issues that our youth deal with today that we never had to deal with when we were kids. We have a reserve unit. These are volunteer police officers. Most of them have better paying jobs. They don't want to be cops full-time, but they want to give back to their community, so they are fully certified, post-certified law enforcement officers that come out and work for free on the evenings and weekends and things like that. Search and Rescue, again, a volunteer organization. We have a ton of people that go missing either up in the Pike National Forest, or we even call them out for missing kids right here in Highlands Ranch. And they respond to those to help us out. And then the HEART team, the Homeless Engagement Assistance Resource Team. There's a reason why you don't see homelessness in Douglas County, and if you do, it doesn't last long, is because they are a full-time team made up of, they're right here, we pair a deputy sheriff with what we call a homeless navigator. So these folks are paid, and they are able to connect these homeless folks with services. I will tell you that as the sheriff of Douglas County, I wouldn't be in law enforcement if I didn't have compassion and caring for people. I've given my whole life because I care about people. I wanted to put my life on the line and lose my life to take care of other people. So I'm a compassionate person. But if these homeless individuals are committing crimes in Douglas County, I'm not going to tolerate it, I'm not going to put up with it, and I'm not going to look the other direction. So if we do have a homeless encampment or somebody that might be breaking the law, depending on what degree, these folks will always go out and handle it. They will try to connect these folks with services. About 90% of these folks don't want services and they don't want our help. But they know if they come into Douglas County, guess what? They're going to get contacted. If they're panhandling or they're trying to set up a homeless encampment, they're going to get contacted by law enforcement. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's only a matter of time. Now, it's not against the law to be homeless, but it's also not against the law for my deputy to contact somebody. As a result of that, we have a much lower rate of homeless individuals coming into Douglas County because frankly, they don't want to be contacted by law enforcement officers. A lot of these homeless individuals, they have criminal records, they have drug issues, alcohol issues, things like that. And so there's a lot of challenges that they have and that they face. We have the ability to help them with that, but they don't have to accept our help. If they don't want to accept our help and they're breaking the law, then they may end up in my jail, depending on what's going on. Highlands Ranch Substation, this is the building at Broadway and Highlands Ranch Parkway. Full service substation. You can get your concealed weapons permit from there. You can get reports, whatever you need. We can have a deputy take a report right from there. This building was long overdue by the time we actually got it up there, and frankly, we've actually kind of outgrown it already, but it's an amazing facility. Detention Division, we are responsible for the health, safety, and well-being and welfare of every inmate that I incarcerate. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From the time that inmate comes in that door to the time they leave, I am responsible for them. I'm responsible for their health. I'm responsible to make sure that they don't get hurt while they're in my custody. And so as a result of which, I have to provide medical care for them. Of course, we provide meals, mental health services, and we also have many of the inmates that I incarcerate, they have an opioid addiction. And so we have a special unit that helps deal with all that stuff because guess what? If they don't have those medical services to help them deal with their addiction, they could actually die in my custody. Not a good thing. And so we have to make sure that we help those folks out while they're in my custody. And my goal is to the extent that I can, when they leave the facility, that they're in better shape than when they came in. A lot of times, a lot of these people are so addicted to drugs, but when they get into my facility, guess what? They can't get those drugs anymore. And they're in a safer environment than they would be when they're out on the street. This is a facility, the Justice Center, that houses the jail and the courts. We already talked about the accreditation process, and this is our booking area. We have inmates, male, female, and this is just kind of the holding area that we wait for when they get booked. If they're not cooperative and they want to fight with us or do whatever, then they get put in those holding cells up top there. This is a really tough job that they have because we get everything from somebody that may have not paid a traffic ticket and they end up down there to have to post a bond, or we get people that are really bad characters. And this is just kind of a snapshot of the criminal justice system and how it works. What this is right here is a body scanner. So everybody that comes into my facility, their body gets scanned to make sure that they don't have any drugs on them or in them, because we don't want those drugs getting down into the jail and giving those drugs to other inmates. You'd be surprised how many are able to get down there. This right here is one of our civilian positions. He is a detention specialist. We have civilians that are unarmed. They don't have law enforcement authority, but they handle a lot of the things like controlling doors and actually doing the booking process, a lot of the administrative work. Right here is a SORT team, Special Operation Response Team. They are kind of a SWAT team for inside the jail. They have dual roles. So essentially, occasionally we have inmates that want to fight with us or want to do all kinds of different things. They may barricade themselves in their cell and all kinds of stuff, and we call these folks in to come and deal with it. They're just like regular patrol deputies, so they wear body cams and things like that. And our goal with that, and our goal with for them to be dressed like that, of course they have to have protective gear, is for the inmate to say, never mind, I give up. That's a good thing. because we don't want to have to put hands on folks if we don't want to. Support services, this is the dispatch center, our civil service process, our warrant section where they find bad guys, records, the fleets. We have a couple hundred vehicles that we have to take care of, and then IT or technology services. Everybody has a computer. Every car has a computer, and there's a lot of people to take care of that. Our dispatch center. We dispatch, I believe, for like 12 different agencies. It's a lot that our dispatchers have to deal with. What you're seeing right here is one of our dispatchers that helped give birth to that little one over the phone. That happens on a regular basis. These dispatchers are absolutely amazing. I could not do this job. They have to answer all these calls for service, and most of these people, they're having the worst day of their life. It may be for a medical call, it may be for a shots fired call, a robbery that just occurred, a horrible traffic accident, a baby that's being delivered. And then on the other end of that, they're running the radios for my deputies on the street. And that deputy may be calling out, shots fired, I need help. These people are heroes, and they don't get paid enough, I'll tell you that. Just another view of all the agencies that we dispatch for: Elizabeth Police Department, Elbert County, Rattlesnake Fire, Big Sandy, Simla, Kiowa Fire, and they all pay us for those services. It's a great group of people. Investigations, this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of crime fighting. The deputies out on the street catch them. These guys are the ones that do the heavy lifting to make sure that we get convictions. Essentially, they are the ones that put the cases together, do all the interviews, that our crime scene investigators are housed out of investigations. We have a crime lab. We have a crime lab, evidence processing, the Unified Forensics Lab that we partner with the Arapahoe County Sheriff on and Aurora Police Department to get our evidence tested, like DNA testing and things like that, which that is a whole nother entity in and of themselves. And then we have a cold case team. We've solved several cold cases over the, that are 20, 30 years old. We're able to solve that with DNA evidence, and so we have a cold case team and detectives dedicated to nothing but that. And then we also have a forensic genetic genealogist that has solved several DNA cases from around the country. They have used her. Her name is Michelle Kennedy. You may have seen over the last couple weeks, we've got a sentencing. It was through a plea deal, a sentencing on a guy named Michael Jefferson. Michael Jefferson murdered a man named Roger Dean in 1985 in Lone Tree, which back then was unincorporated. And Michael Jefferson left a ski mask at the scene where he committed the murder. And through the work of DNA evidence in this genetic genealogy process, she was able to identify Michael Jefferson as the killer. And so, again, this guy hopefully will never see the light of day again. But it's amazing work that these guys do. These are all the different sections of investigations. Our financial crimes unit, we see a lot of folks victimized, especially our elder population. They are become victims of financial crimes for various reasons. We have a detective dedicated just to our senior population to help not only educate them, but also work those financial cases. Then our special investigations section, these are the undercover guys, our impact team, and they are the high-speed load drag. A lot of them look homeless, but they're actually undercover cops, and they are, whatever problem we are having in the community, we put them on it. Great group of people. This is another cold case that you guys may have seen. This is Helene Przinski. Helene was kidnapped, if you guys remember, you know that spaceship-looking bank building that's right at Hampton and Broadway, that white one? She was kidnapped from there. I think it was about 1982-ish. She was kidnapped, and then she was murdered right about where Cherry Hills Church is. She was stabbed to death. Back then, that was just an empty lot, and Daniels Park Road actually came right through that area. Again, her case was solved through DNA evidence and genetic genealogy, and we ended up getting Curtis Clanton into custody. The way that we got Mr. Clanton into custody through that genetic genealogy process is we identified him as a potential person with that DNA, and we put some detectives, we sent them down to Florida where he was living, and some of the cops that were down there knew the bar owner where Clanton liked to go drink beer. And so the bar owner, when Mr. Clanton was done with his beer, gave that beer glass to one of our detectives. And sure enough, it was a match for the DNA evidence left at the scene. And that case remained unsolved for about 30 years. Our victim advocates, those are civilian personnel that we have that help victims of crime. We also go above and beyond, and we help people with whatever is going on. If they have a loved one die, in the home or something like that, we send our victim advocates out there to help connect those folks with resources. This is the DNA lab, the forensics lab that I was telling you about. It's over in Meridian. Part of what we do is data analysis. So we don't want to send our patrol deputies out there just, hey, good luck, go catch some bad guys. So we use crime analysis to determine where they should be and about what time they should be there to determine what are the best odds that they have to catch somebody actually committing a crime or having something like that in progress. And so with every briefing that our patrol deputies have, they are armed with that information of where we're having issues. And then Office of Emergency Management, again, those are the fire folks, whatever. When we had the tornado in Highlands Ranch a couple years ago, these were the folks that were responsible for managing that. When FEMA came out to actually assess the damage, they were shocked how much had already been done, how much had already been cleaned up because of the partnership with the Highlands Ranch Metro District and our Office of Emergency Management. Special teams, this is the fun stuff. K-9, SWAT, our bomb team. They have dual purpose jobs, so like we have people that are detectives and they also do this on the side. The only full-time team that we have is our K-9 unit because the amount of training that goes into the work with the dogs. And we have one of the largest K-9 programs in the state of Colorado, and I have 7 street dogs that are out there during peak hours. Honor Guard, we have a helicopter that the county contracts with. That contract is in place from June 1st to October 31st. We actually have a contract out there sitting out in Roxborough, ready and waiting for a fire to happen during peak fire season. We are the only county to do that. It's a $1.5 million annual contract. There are fires that occur in this county that you never hear about because of that helicopter. Because whether it's in the Pike National Forest or anywhere in Douglas County, including a Greenbelt and Highlands Ranch, that helicopter is in the air within minutes dropping water on it. So we don't have a tragedy like the Marshall Fire that occurred up in Boulder. And then some of our community programs that we have, I encourage you to go to our website to learn more about those. This is the source of our funding. Just let you guys read that. And this is where all that money goes. Most of it is personnel costs. Okay, I know that was very fast and very furious, but I didn't want to bore you with a PowerPoint that you've seen a lot of it already. So with that, I'd like to open it up for some questions. Yes, sir.
Going back to the last slide, is there any federal funding to your jurisdiction that you're worried about losing?
I am not, and I'm not trying to get political with you all, but The commissioners and I, along with the District Attorney George Brockler, we went out to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. While we were out there, we had a lot of appointments from morning till evening with various members of Congress from all over the United States. Part of that was to secure opportunities for federal funding for Douglas County. And so I am not worried about any programs or services being cut that we have. I don't have a list of everything that we get federal dollars for, but I'm not concerned about that. To give you an example, Highway 85 or Santa Fe, that should have been expanded 20 years ago. I-25, anywhere south of Castle Rock, is a nightmare, and it's even worse in the summer. That should have been expanded 20 years ago. And so part of the pitch was for Douglas County to get more attention in those federal dollars to get those projects underway. Lauren Boebert, you may be a fan, you may not be a fan, but I will tell you, I've been the sheriff for a couple years now. She has been fantastic for the 4th Congressional District since she has been in there, and actually doing and working for the citizens of Douglas County to get us the resources that we need. And so to answer your question, though, I am not concerned.
As compared to the world or the United States, tell us about our county. What is good about our county? What's weird about our county? What's, you know, what's changing in our county, you know, statistically, you know, or anything like that you can
It ebbs and flows, to be honest with you. Our crime statistics are up. They're down in certain areas. Overall, preliminary numbers from last year, crime overall is down 9%. However, my residential burglaries in 2023 skyrocketed over the last year. But to answer your question more succinctly, Douglas County is interesting because we are between Denver and Colorado Springs. We have been a county that really values public safety. A lot of people may work in Denver and they reside here in Douglas County. One of the big reasons that Douglas County is so coveted and our property values have skyrocketed is because it's a safe place to own a business and raise a family. A lot of the things that I've shown you and told you about, like the homeless issue and crime and things like that, we're aggressive, we're crime fighters, and we are problem solvers, which has made Douglas County very unique. And this is not a political issue. I say that all the time. This is not a Republican-Democrat issue. It's a public safety issue. I get plenty of people, Sheriff, keep doing what you're doing. We love it because they want to live in a safe community. And as long as I'm the sheriff, I'm going to do everything that I can to keep Douglas County the way that it is. We are one of the wealthiest counties in the entire United States outside of Washington, D.C. Right here in Douglas County, the most well-educated and the wealthiest. And so, again, everything comes back from my mind, because it's my job, to public safety, because it is such a safe community. And so I hope did I answer your question? Okay. We are on the national map, folks, in a lot of different ways. And that's why we were able to talk to so many members of Congress, because a lot of things that we're doing here in Douglas County, other agencies, other communities want to copy what we're doing. We get phone calls all the time about our impact team, our homeless engagement assistance resource team, and a lot of things that we do here in Douglas County. Yes?
I'll throw out a question before I go to the back. How about currently, are you working with the Customs and Immigration folks, ICE arresting illegal immigrants? Are they coming to Douglas County? What's your interaction with them?
We have a good relationship with them. They are coming into Douglas County. And so the state of Colorado, by statute, there's certain things I can do to interact with ICE. There's certain things that I cannot do to interact with ICE. So there's a state law on the books, and essentially what that state law says is I cannot, under my authority, hold people on ICE detainers alone. It's a civil detainer. It's not signed by a judge. It's signed by an ICE agent. And by law, I cannot hold people on ICE detainers. However, I can communicate with ICE. And if you go to our website, dcsheriff.net, there's a button right at the top, and you can see the demographics of my inmate population. Part of that demographics is if somebody is citizen, non-citizen, if they're a non-citizen, country of origin, and if they have an ICE detainer on them. ICE has that information. And if they want to come and get them, they can come and get them. I cannot delay the release of these individuals. The thing that makes things different is if these individuals actually have a criminal charge, then I can arrest them for the criminal charge. I just can't hold them on the immigration status alone. And it's not just me. No sheriff, I'll just speak for Colorado. The authority of the office of sheriff is given by the statutes of the state of Colorado. I don't have any federal authority to enforce federal law. And so a lot of people don't realize that. But I cooperate with ICE to the extent that I am lawfully allowed to cooperate with ICE. I have detectives in a lot of federal agencies. Those detectives do have federal authority. They get their federal authority. I think they're deputized through the U.S. Marshal Service to give them that federal authority. And so I do everything that I can to ensure that I have a safe community, and I cooperate with ICE to the extent that I can. But if you're asking me if ICE has been in Douglas County, yes, they have.
How does one sign up for a ride-along?
You can just give us a call, 303-660-7505, or go on our website. Just ask to talk to the patrol division receptionist, and she will get you guys connected with the ride-along. And tell them you talked to Sheriff Weekly about a ride-along. Okay, so they'll give you somebody good. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us about your experiences with gangs and what the status of that is now in our area, in your area?
Yes. So we do have a low-level gang issue in Douglas County. It's nothing compared to other areas. I don't have any Trendre or Waguas taken over apartment complexes in my jurisdiction. One of the task forces that I talked about is I have a detective assigned to the FBI's Violent Criminal Enterprise Task Force. And I assigned that detective to that task force when this TDA issue arose, because I did not want those problems in my county, and I wanted somebody from my office in that group to help us identify these individuals. More often than not, if we have gang members committing crimes in Douglas County, those gang members are coming from areas like Denver and Aurora, or coming up from Colorado Springs, committing crimes and then, going back to their areas. My jail has a lot of gang members that are inside the jail, including TDA members. So I don't know exactly how many I have as of today, but in terms of immigration detainers, again, that I can't honor, we had 20 as of last week that had those immigration detainers. I think there were 8 from Mexico, 8 from Venezuela, 1 from Chile, 1 from Peru, 1 from Russia. So it's from all over the world.
How do you deal with political issues as a sheriff? Do you get a lot of comments from people pro and con on what you do and being a Republican?
Politics is by far the worst part of my job. The reason the citizens elected me is because, at least from my perspective, is prior to 29 years of service in the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, I served in every area of this organization. That's why the citizens elected me. As far as politics are concerned, because that is a constitutionally elected position, again, the same process, we have to win a primary and everything else, politics is inevitable. I try to keep it out of my office as much as I can. Our office, our mission, if you follow us on social media and things like that, we don't get in political. We don't get into identity politics. We avoid all of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, you're not paying me to be a politician, you're paying me to keep you safe. And so I try to keep that stuff out of it. It is inevitable that things do get political. I try to keep my staff away from that as much as possible. I do have a lot of political criticism that I get from both sides of the aisle. You know, I might get somebody from the far left that thinks that, well, I'm blind to this particular group. I might get people on the right that don't think I'm Republican enough. I barely won my race. You know, I don't know if you guys remember, it was 2 years ago. There was 4 people in my primary. I won my primary by 630 votes out of 60,000 votes cast in that primary. So the politics is horrible. You know, it's horrible on social media, but I do try to stay out of it as much as I can. I'm a sheriff for every citizen of this county. I don't care where you come from. I don't care your cultural background. I don't care about your sexual orientation. I don't care. My job is to do my job to the best of my ability until you break the law. And so I don't want a particular group. I had a meeting recently with some folks, and they felt that they were not being represented enough by the sheriff's office. They felt that I was too connected to the Republican politics. And nothing could be further from the truth. And I did field some concerns and questions that they had about situations that they had. And everything that we identified, most of it was communication issue. And they may not have felt that they were treated properly by somebody else in law enforcement, or they were worried that they didn't get the service that they should have gotten, when in fact, the deputy did a pretty good job on their call for service. But I don't want people to feel that I only serve this group. Nothing could be further from the truth.
You alluded to, but didn't really delve into, what part your department plays in scams, be it personal or internet or telephone. Is there a specific unit, or how much are you involved in any type of scam?
So we have Ryan Faulkner. You may have seen Ryan with Leo. He's our senior resource deputy. Ryan Faulkner is actually more popular than I am with our citizen group. He's a great guy. But he goes out in the community educating folks about the types of scams and things like that. They occur on a daily basis. So it may be something as simple as you got a text message that you don't know, and you click on the link on the text message, and it looks legit. Like it might look like it came from Wells Fargo. Hey, we need your bank account information so we can validate something. Or they may try to create a sense of urgency for you. Like you might get an email or something like that, and like, hey, we think somebody's trying to take over your account. You need to click on this and validate your account information. Don't ever click on any of those links. Just delete them. A lot of our seniors, they feel like, well, I need to answer my door. That's the right thing to do. I need to answer my phone, or I got to answer this text message. Don't. Those days are over. Those days are gone. The people they're scamming people, this is all they do for a living. And they target our senior population. And usually, they're not even in this country. A lot of times, they're in other countries. So our financial investigation resource team, they're highly trained to do nothing but financial crimes, because a lot of these financial crimes, they take potentially months, if not years, to solve. We do, to the extent that we can, do solve some of these cases. You may have seen last year we had what's called the gold bars case. We had a couple of people from India that were in this country illegally, and they scammed this senior out of, it was a ridiculous amount, like $200,000. And we were able to set up a sting, and we arrested those individuals. And they're going to go to, they're in prison right now, and after they get out of prison, they'll be deported back to India. But that's an example of when the person who's a victim called us immediately, and we were able to stop a lot of things from happening. Time is of the essence if you think you've been victimized, because the longer that people wait, and a lot of people wait to report it because they're embarrassed by giving these people money when they maybe should have known better. But I've had people that they're so convinced that this is real, they won't even believe us when we tell them. Like, no, this is a scam, don't do it. And they still want to do it. It's sad, but we dedicate a lot of time and resources just for financial crimes. Yes.
I got a call a couple of weeks ago, Sheriff, from a guy saying, I'm with the Douglas County Sheriff's Department.
Yep.
There's a fine on the books that you haven't paid, and I can take care of that on the phone with you right now.
Right.
And I said, no, thank you.
Yeah, hang up on those folks.
With nearly 700 employees, HR, so the question of recruiting, training, retention. Talk to us about that and as you try to stay staffed.
We are almost fully staffed. Other agencies, you'll hear about Denver, Aurora, they're down 100, 200 people. We are almost fully staffed. The reason that we're not fully staffed is the commissioners gave me 10 more deputies for the 2025 budget year. We are still able to pick the cream of the crop that want to come to Douglas County. I'm hiring Denver cops. I'm hiring Aurora cops. I'm even hiring Lone Tree cops because they want to come and work for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. So we're not having a big a hiring issue in that arena. I don't want to be on the 5 o'clock news for a bad thing, and so we are very selective on who we hire. They go through 2 psychological exams. They go through a polygraph exam. We go through an extensive background check because I don't want somebody wearing this uniform who's a bad apple. As you saw, we have, almost, over 600 and some odd employees. We're going to have issues. We're going to have problems. Internal Affairs takes care of those types of personnel investigations, and so they handle those. It's run by 2 sergeants and a lieutenant who are in that area, and all they do is manage the more serious cases. So if I get sued or something like that happens, they investigate those. They investigate the more serious allegations of wrongdoing. The lower level complaint stuff like courtesy complaints and things like that, those go back to the street supervisor or the watch commander to resolve those investigations. Every single complaint that we get in, and this is part of that accreditation process, every single complaint that we get is documented. And so if you call in a complaint like, hey, this guy driving car number 2015 was speeding on Highlands Ranch Parkway, and I don't like it, and I would have got a ticket for the same thing, we investigate that stuff, and we will follow up with you on your investigation. And if it's a use of force issue, let's say our deputies have to put hands on somebody and there's a use of force issue, those are all investigated no matter what happens, whether we got a complaint or not. And so they're first investigated by the supervisor, and they go up the chain of command all the way up to the undersheriff. We run a very clean shop. Am I problem-free? No, but when I have a problem, I address it, and I'm transparent about it. And every complaint that you file, you will get an answer on how that complaint was resolved.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I am curious as to how many of your patrol officers and employees speak Spanish.
Speak what?
Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. I don't know, to be
Espanol.
honest with you. I hired I hired a lady from Lone Tree the other day. She speaks like 5 different languages. That's a great question, and I need to find that out. Because I know we do have a lot of bilingual deputies. I don't have an exact number for you, but it's something that if we can find somebody in the hiring process, like, okay, yeah, that definitely helps you during the hiring process. But yeah, I don't have a number for you, I'm sorry.
I want to recognize for a moment the Undersheriff of Arapahoe County, Jared Rollison, a member of St. Andrew. Congratulations to you.
Yep. Jared and I have been friends for many, many years. When I saw that he got promoted to undersheriff, I was like, yes, because he's one of the good ones. The guy works his tail off, and I can't think of anybody better that would be appointed to the undersheriff position. So congratulations.
Question, Jared? No questions?
Hey, Sheriff, I'm not a plant, by the way, and this isn't meant to be a softball, but I think you've spoken to the importance that your team has on serving our older population. And I also feel like our congregation might want to hear a little more about what your team does to keep schools safe as well. That's just really important for us as a community just in general, and I believe so for our congregation as well.
Absolutely. So the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, the Douglas County School District, we have the largest school resource officer program in the entire state of Colorado. And that is because our commissioners recognize the value, our commissioners in our school district recognize the value and the relationship of those cops in schools. So we have over 43 now. Some of those folks are dedicated to private schools. Those schools pay for that. But it's a public-private partner. It's a public partnership, but the school district pays for half of the salary of those SROs. We handpick our SROs. We don't want to stick somebody in the schools like, hey, I want weekends off, I want nights off, you know, I want Christmas off. Those are the people we do not want in those schools. Those SROs are handpicked. We invite the school to help pick the SRO for their school. And it's a program that has been, honestly, it's been the gold standard of school resource officer programs. We put every deputy through the NASRO, the National Association of School Resource Officers. Every single one of our deputies, SROs, goes to that conference. They get specialized training. They know how to interact with these kids. They know when they don't, they're also trained on to don't overstep what your role is with these kids. But at the end of the day, God forbid that somebody goes in that school to hurt kids, that deputy sheriff is not going to hesitate to do their job. And so they know that. We also train our SROs with the school district security, with the fire departments to do active threat response. And so if we do have an active killer, active shooter in one of these schools, how do we come together to make the scene safe? I will tell you, having been on Arapahoe High School shooting, I was in charge of our SWAT team during that. I was on the peripherals of the STEM school shooting in that role. STEM school, to give you an example, we were inside that school, in less than 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes too late for Kendra Castillo. Our deputies love these kids, and they would do everything that they could to defend the lives of those children. And I can't emphasize that enough. You know, when we were all kids, we had tornado drills and, you know, the duck under your desk if a nuclear bomb goes off. Times have changed. These kids are growing up in a world where they have to worry about active shooters at their schools. And I will tell you, God forbid, you know, knock on wood, the Douglas County School District, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and our police departments, our sheriff's offices, you know, in nearby counties, we are ready to respond to deal with that threat.
We have just a couple minutes left, a couple more questions. We had some excitement a week or so ago, just a block south of here at the King Super, where a stolen car was identified by your officers, and I was walking up to the front of the store, and the 4 officers had their guns out and were doing such a professional job of getting the people out of the stolen car, while there was a ring of citizens watching and filming with their cell phones, as I'm sure happens every time you have something in public. But just a quick question, if I could. How did the officers identify the stolen car in the parking lot of a King Supers? Is there a technology that you use as they drive around that identifies and looks at license plate numbers?
There is. So in addition to stationary license plate readers that we have all over main arteries of our county, every patrol vehicle is equipped with a license plate reader as well. Most nexus for criminal activity, where you're talking property crimes or robberies, burglaries, things like that, those crimes are facilitated with a stolen vehicle. When our deputies are on the street, they are alerted in real time when a stolen vehicle comes into their area. We have a lot of policies and procedures in place. We are never reckless with how we do our job. We do not want to get a citizen hurt while we are trying to enforce the law. But the bottom line is, I want a reputation in Douglas County with criminals. If you come into Douglas County in your stolen car and you're going to do stupid stuff in our county, we are going to find you, we're going to catch you, and we're going to take you to jail. You will notice how the deputies did that. It made the news how the deputy backed up his car, drove his car up to protect those people that were there. These deputies are very good at what they do. We train them very well. And because of the amount of experience that they're getting in real time for situations just like that, they are very efficient and very professional about how they go about doing their business. We've caught a lot of bad guys in Douglas County, and they've said, I knew I shouldn't have come to Douglas County. And our deputies say, tell your friends. But I want that reputation down here. I don't want our citizens to be afraid. I don't want our kids to be afraid. I want your grandkids or your kids to leave their bike in the front yard, and in the morning it's still there, you know. But we do have crime. We're not crime-free, but we're doing everything that we can, and we're being very overt about it on how I will make examples of as many of these criminals as I can. I will make them famous for coming into Douglas County and making bad choices.
It's 10 o'clock. We are out of time. Thank you so much for your time today, Sheriff.
Thank you.
And Godspeed to you.
Thanks for having me.